When I was brought home from the secluded mountain retreat, my half sister Bella was already a minor social media celebrity. She proudly boasted about the new spiritual guide she had advising her, a supposed expert who guaranteed she was on the fast track to becoming a major star. At the same time, she would look at me with disdain, mocking how even if I had a pretty face, my streak of bad luck would ensure I remained a nobody for the rest of my life. I didn't respond to her taunts. I simply observed the strange, dark energy that seemed to cling to her. 5 distinct shadows that pulsed with a negative force, and I became lost in my thoughts, contemplating the path that lay before me. When my father's driver, Marcus, arrived to pick me up at the gate of the retreat, I had just finished packing my single suitcase. He was concluding his conversation with one of the young attendants at the gate just as I stepped out into the morning air. According to the patterns I had foreseen, today was the designated day for my return. The timing, however, was about half an hour earlier than I had anticipated. I wondered where I had miscalculated in my reading of the day's events. I handed him my luggage and began to mentally review my calculations. Then it hit me. The discrepancy wasn't in the timing, but in the person sent to collect me. Marcus enthusiastically stored my luggage in the trunk and then began to awkwardly explain why my father couldn't make it himself, peppering his speech with a series of messages about how much he supposedly missed me. I offered a polite, noncommittal smile. I had understood long ago that my familial connections were thin and frayed, a bond that couldn't be forced or strengthened through sheer will. I wasn't expecting anything more. Once the driver realized that I wasn't upset, he visibly relaxed. As he drove, his eyes kept flicking to me in the rearview mirror, and I met his gaze with my own steady one. He was about 40, with fair skin and delicate features, dominated by a pair of eyes that seemed to promise romance and heartbreak in equal measure. His eyeballs were slightly bloodshot, threaded with faint red lines. People with eyes like his often led chaotic and messy personal lives. This observation matched the muddled, heavy atmosphere I sensed inside the car. On his forehead, I could perceive a faint patch of dark energy, a clear sign of an impending disaster related to a romantic entanglement. Noticing me looking at him, he smirked, his words carrying a suggestive weight. "Miss, you're quite beautiful, with such a graceful presence. You certainly don't look like someone who grew up in the countryside." His lips were unusually thin, with a smooth upper lip, a classic sign of a harsh and likely impoverished fate. Such a mouth, combined with those eyes, pointed toward a violent end. 3 months at most. Of course, if his personal circumstances were favorable, or if he exercised a bit of caution, the worst could be mitigated. "I wonder what year you were born, sir?" I asked casually. The car stopped at a red light. 2 street vendors approached, carrying steering wheel covers, trinkets, and bunches of yellow flowers, calling out their prices at the car window. 4 bunches for $1. The driver immediately started cursing under his breath. "What terrible luck. These beggars are everywhere. They stink." He waved them away impatiently. "Go on, get lost." I happened to have some spare change in my pocket. I rolled down the window and bought a few of the flowers from an elderly woman. Crushing the petals between my fingertips, their sweet fragrance began to displace the heavy, muddled air in the car. The driver glanced at me with disdain. "Miss, it's not my place to say, but you can't be so soft with people like them." He rambled on for a moment before remembering my question. "Right, what were you asking me just now?" "Nothing important," I replied, putting away the small, protective talisman I had been holding. I said no more. The path of wisdom is vast, but it doesn't extend to those who have no affinity for it. Along the way, the driver took a call. A sharp, curious voice on the other end asked if he had picked me up, and then immediately what I looked like. Marcus replied that I looked a lot like his previous wife. The person on the phone scoffed, then asked what I was wearing. When she heard I was in a simple, modest robe from the retreat, she demanded that the driver bring me to see her immediately. "It's the second miss," Marcus said, his face softening with a hint of indulgence. "She's so excited to see her older sister that she can't wait another moment. She wants to see you right now. The timing is perfect, actually. Miss Bella has an event to attend tonight. You can go and get a feel for that world." "Whatever," I said, my expression unchanged. A sarcastic smirk touched the driver's lips. The event was a glitzy awards show held downtown, the kind of affair where organizers pull out all the stops to attract sponsors and celebrity endorsements. My sister wanting me there was obviously a ploy to create a spectacle, to generate some media coverage and stir up some online buzz. Even though I came from a secluded spiritual community, I had accompanied my master to enough influential places to understand the dynamics of this circle. Cars couldn't enter the venue directly, so we had to park nearby and walk. The moment I stepped out of the car, several reporters turned their cameras toward me. A nearby social media influencer commented loudly, "Who is that? Talk about an attention seeker wearing an outfit like that." Another one lamented, "If I had known I would have worn a traditional gown, that would have been even more eye-catching." The driver tried to call my sister, but her line was busy. I told him not to bother. A beautiful young woman was walking toward us, her eyes bright and seemingly filled with tears as she looked at me. This had to be my never-before-seen sister, Bella Thorne. Strangely, however, beneath her perfectly applied eye makeup, she had the same kind of troubled romantic eyes as the driver. That wasn't even the most surprising part. Clinging to her back, I could clearly perceive those 5 shadowy forms, all of them now looking directly at me. I took a step forward. The 5 shadows immediately recoiled, as if covering their faces with invisible hands, before peeking out from between their fingers, trembling. They all had a faint, artificial glow around them, indicating they had been summoned and bound to her will. They couldn't act without instruction. That was the rule. I had come down from the mountain this time for 2 primary reasons. First, my master said that my worldly ties remained unresolved, and a true cultivator must sever all attachments and desires. I also had a 3-year familial bond with my father that I needed to see through. Second, I had accidentally damaged one of his precious ceremonial banners and needed to resolve 5 specific karmic debts to stabilize it. I strongly suspected this second reason was the more pressing one. My purpose was to resolve these karmic obstacles, not to stir up trouble. So I merely glanced at the shadowy forms on her back and made no move. Bella approached, and upon seeing my face up close, a flash of genuine surprise crossed her features before she quickly masked it. With perfectly crafted, tear-filled eyes, she introduced me to a few prearranged reporters and bloggers. This was her sister, lost for over a decade. She was just too emotional, a bit overwhelmed, and asked for everyone's understanding. As she spoke, the cameras turned to me. I nodded in a traditional, respectful bow. More gasps of surprise rippled through the small crowd. I was accustomed to such reactions. Bella frowned at the reporters she had paid, then quickly signaled her assistant to lead me away. As we walked, she lowered her voice and asked the driver angrily, "Marcus, why didn't you tell me she looked like this?" "Like what?" Marcus, the driver, asked. Her voice was a hushed, indignant whisper. "So beautiful, a little fox." Marcus chuckled as if he were soothing a child. "Where? She's pretty, I suppose, but not nearly as pretty as you, Miss Bella." Bella snorted. "Lucy, remember to manage the press releases for later. Only release the photos where you can clearly see my face. Push it out tomorrow." Years of focused cultivation had made my senses far sharper than those of ordinary people, so even though she lowered her voice, I heard every word distinctly. At a glance, I could tell her facial features and jawline had been surgically altered. She looked exquisite, but her sharply pointed chin and drooping nose, with no flesh at the tip, were not signs of lasting good fortune. Moreover, she wasn't cultivating her character to improve her situation. Even though she had summoned those shadowy forces to boost her career now, it was merely borrowing from the good fortune of the latter half of her life. A dangerous gamble. If she truly wanted to change her fate, dark arts were not the answer. Just then, I saw one of the small shadows on Bella's shoulder tremble as it tugged on a faint red string of energy. Following the string to where it disappeared, I saw the dazzling flashes of cameras not far off, a brilliant constellation of light. A sunny, handsome man emerged from the starlight. Fans held up glowing signs, chanting his name, "Leo Sterling! Leo Sterling!" Bella's demeanor immediately changed, and she stood still, having her assistants clear the space next to her. Entering the venue together would be another newsworthy item, but I was more surprised by the man who had just arrived. He had 5 or 6 of those red strings attached to him, all eagerly trying to reach out to him. All of them were attraction charms from the same dark, manipulative source. Looking at the talismans tied to the cords, I could tell they were made by the same person. I was a bit shocked. Which unscrupulous practitioner was responsible for these charms? Were they selling them in bulk? Tying attraction knots, borrowing ghostly luck, and making offerings to spirits were common practices for minor celebrities in the entertainment industry. But to have several supernaturally powered attraction cords all directed at one person was excessive, not to mention these cords were all identical. When several of these summoned forces met, they would undoubtedly fight over him. Even if this Leo Sterling had a strong constitution and good fortune, he would be affected sooner or later. Just then, a junior reporter trying to get a better angle happened to block Bella's path. Her eyes narrowed, and she glanced at her burly assistant. The assistant understood, pretended it was an accident, and roughly bumped into the reporter. The young woman stumbled, cried out, and went flying, her camera and bag tumbling through the air. A smile touched Bella's lips as she covered her mouth with her hand, feigning shock, and tried to lean toward Leo beside her. In the instant the reporter fell toward Leo, he swiftly grabbed her arm and cleverly broke her fall, helping her stand steady. The whole process was smooth and skillful, perfectly executed. The reporter was still shaken. My camera. At the same time, the camera and bag that had been flying toward me were caught with a quick, agile movement. After handing the items back to the rescued reporter, she blushed, bowed, and thanked both me and Leo. Leo turned to look at me, hesitated for a moment, and then asked, "And you are?" Bella squeezed in between us. "This is my sister from the countryside. She was lost for over 10 years, and we just found her today." She deliberately moved closer to Leo. The closer the supernaturally powered attraction cords, the stronger their effect. I glanced at her shoulder. The small shadow pulling the red string saw me and immediately trembling let go. Because of the clear, calm aura I projected, the other red strings on Leo also loosened their grip. After the string slackened, he visibly relaxed. He looked at me, smiled, and extended his hand. "Nice to meet you. I'm Leo Sterling." I nodded. His hand remained stubbornly outstretched. The lines on his palm were clear, his hand clean, and exuding a sense of freshness. I extended my hand and, following social custom, shook his. The moment our fingers touched, my palm felt a slight electric tingle. It was a strange sensation. Just then, Marcus, the driver, and the nearby assistant, prompted by Bella's pouting, hastily led me away, saying I needed to rest. I had just reached the dressing room when Bella walked in, slamming the door of the makeup room behind her. Her cute, energetic demeanor was instantly replaced by a sharp, aggressive one. "I really underestimated you. You sure know how to put on a show. First, you play the innocent, holier-than-thou act, but the moment you saw Leo, you practically melted. Let me tell you, he's mine." At such a close range, her altered features were clearly visible. "Also, Dad said I'm his favorite daughter. Even if you're back, that won't change anything. You, a broke girl from a retreat, better learn your place. Don't think you're the only one who knows people from spiritual places. I have an expert guiding me now. I'm definitely going to be a huge star. I just don't like the look of you. Our destinies must clash." "You're right." I nodded this time. Bella and I did have clashing destinies, but I was the one who suppressed hers. Marcus, the driver, completely sided with Bella. He claimed he wasn't feeling well, gave me an address, and told me to take a cab to the Thorne family home by myself. I walked out of the venue along a tree-lined avenue. The plane trees created a dense canopy with moonlight filtering down through the leaves. Two stray, wandering spirits chatting at a crossroads saw me and immediately shrank back into the ground, disappearing from sight. I touched my palm, recalling that feeling, like a faint electric shock. After 10 years of dealing with restless spirits at the retreat, my hand should have long been as cold as my heart. But what was that searing heat in my palm just now? As I was pondering this, I heard a car horn behind me. It was Leo Sterling. He was driving, his window rolled down. He asked, "Miss Thorne, where are you headed? Can I give you a ride?" "Don't worry, I don't mean anything by it. I just don't know why, but I feel like we connected right away. I feel more relaxed around you." This might sound weird, but it's true. "Can we be friends?" I saw a female spirit scramble out of the passenger seat in a panic. There were two more small, shadowy figures trembling in the back seat. Of course, he felt relaxed. If he wasn't with me, he was surrounded by unseen presences. I casually reached out and guided the two small shadows out of the open window. I then looked at Leo's hands on the steering wheel. "Does Miss Thorne enjoy walking?" he asked, looking at me from the rearview mirror. "Not really," I replied. "I came down from the mountain and forgot to bring my wallet." "Your moves just now were very clean and impressive. Have you trained in martial arts?" "Mm-hmm," I confirmed, looking at the car seat headrest behind him. A corner of a yellow protective talisman was sticking out from inside. "But this talisman is drawn incorrectly. Whose car is this?" "My car is too conspicuous, so I'm driving the crew driver's car tonight," he explained. Then, quickly changing the subject, he said, "By the way, the crew for the film shooting next door happens to have a female spiritualist role open. I think it would suit you perfectly. Want to consider it?" I glanced again at the yellow talisman, which was already soaked through with a heavy negative energy. Okay, a film crew with a presence so heavy that even a talisman couldn't suppress it. This trip would definitely be fruitful. It was a red light. Leo took out his phone to add me on a messaging app or get my number. "I haven't set up my new number yet. You can just tell me." Leo paused for a second, then recited a string of numbers and an address. I listened and nodded. He seemed a little unsure, rummaging in the car's glove compartment. "Maybe I should find a piece of paper and write it down for you." I slowly and accurately repeated the information back to him. "Miss Thorne, you have an incredible memory." "Of course," I said. "I've never forgotten a single restless spirit I've encountered." When I got out of the car, I gave him an iron sandalwood bracelet from my wrist. "Thanks for the ride. Wear this. You'll sleep well tonight and your back won't hurt anymore." Leo's mouth fell slightly open. How did you know my back has been hurting?" I got out and walked a few steps, then heard Leo muttering behind me. Strange. Why was I so nervous just now? I smiled faintly. Of course you were nervous. You're surrounded by spirits. When I arrived at the Thorne family villa, I realized I had a problem. I didn't have a key. I still had one divination chance left for the day. I did a quick calculation with my fingers and waited quietly. Sure enough, the first person to return was Bella. Having run off midway through the event, she was somewhat exasperated. "Were you with Leo?" "He left the banquet early, saying he had something to do." She looked around, then seemed to realize she was being irrational. "I must be losing my mind. How could someone like him be with you? His car is still here. It must have been that other actress and her friends bothering him. I shouldn't have left." With that, she shot me a sidelong glance. "Can't get in. Heh, wait until I'm done having fun, then you can come back to my house with me." I was indifferent. "It's fine, Dad will be back soon." "Dream on. Dad's on a business trip, picking up a designer bag for me on the way. Even if he comes back, it won't be today." Her voice had barely faded when the sound of a car horn beeped from the front, and a black sedan slowly drove up. It was my biological father, Mr. Thorne, whom I hadn't seen in over a decade. Bella was instantly stunned. Mr. Thorne seemed quite emotional, but while his face was smiling, his eyes were calm and detached. It wasn't hard to understand. After I went missing and my mother passed away, he had legally married Bella's mother. He had a wife and daughter again. For memory, replacement is always more thorough than deletion. For me, our familial bond was extremely thin. Each meeting was one less. There were no deep emotions involved, but my master had said one of the 5 karmic debts I needed to resolve was in my home. I had scanned the area, and apart from the 5 small shadows on my sister that had scurried back to her room to feed on offerings, I hadn't sensed anything else. Could it be that the time wasn't right? We went home together. Mr. Thorne kept me in the living room, making small talk. Bella deliberately acted cute, asking her father for her presents, then turned on the large screen for him to watch the live broadcast of that night's award ceremony. I even won a Best Style and Fashion award. "Alina," she deliberately dragged out my name, her tone dripping with fake sweetness. "Let's watch together. Weren't you there tonight too?" As it turned out, when the live stream opened, the most popular segment was a clip from a minor blogger who had filmed the scene where Leo and I both intervened to save the reporter. Topic after topic shot to the top of the trending lists. Stoic priestess sister, I'm so here for it. So beautiful. Bella Thorne looks so tacky next to her. Heard the sister is the Thorne family's daughter who was missing for over 10 years, just found today. Ah, they brought her to the show today. Are they planning for her debut too? I support it. Bella scrolled for a long time, finally seeing a recently demoted trending topic at the very bottom. Bella Thorne tacky. She was instantly furious and turned to glare at me. I lifted my eyelids and looked back at her. She faltered under my gaze and unconsciously took a step back. Don't get complacent too soon. This isn't my only chance. The next day, I had just returned from getting my ID and official registration sorted out when Bella smugly called out to me in the living room. Hey, let me tell you, Leo asked for our home number today. I knew it. He definitely likes me. Then she muttered to herself, I've tied so many attraction charms, one of them has to work. Me, I thought. No wonder her own fortune is so unstable. Hey, did you hear what I said? The smell of her perfume was giving me a headache. I'll take what I came for and leave. It won't be long. Actually, I added, you don't have to see me as your enemy. We can just be strangers. Bella stared at my face for a full 2 seconds, then suddenly laughed. Nice try. You think I don't know your game? You just don't have a strong enough foundation and want to buy some time, right? Don't think you can do whatever you want just because you have a pretty face. Get along? Can you get along with a thorn in your own side? I shook my head. Bella thought I was admitting defeat. I advise you to go back to your rundown retreat sooner rather than later. Otherwise, whatever you want, I'll destroy it. I smiled. Actually, I want you to be well. Bella was speechless. I still gave her a piece of advice. Do a good deed every day. Go out less at night and avoid places with a heavy, negative presence. Not every spirit is as easy to deal with as the few little ones you keep. A while after she left, the living room phone rang. It was Leo Sterling. His excuse was reasonable enough. You never called. I forgot something the other day. The opening ceremony shoot is tomorrow at 10 a.m. Thank you. Also, do you remember the address and everything? He listened as I repeated it, then very naturally asked, Want me to swing by and pick you up? Someone next to him laughed softly. Leo, you sure can swing by, even to the next city. After I declined, Leo wasn't disappointed. He talked for a long time about things to note on set, told me not to worry, that my scenes were later, and he'd help put in a good word for me, and finally, after much ado, said he'd see me tomorrow. He was as talkative as my master, but not annoying. This new drama was a fantasy set in a historical era. My role in it was a mute spiritualist who catches ghosts. It actually fit quite well. When I arrived, the opening ceremony hadn't officially started yet. Everyone had washed their hands, the offerings were ready, the chief producer was giving a speech, and the director was waiting with 3 long incense sticks. Among the dense crowd, I smelled an indescribable, sickly sweet aroma. Not stinky, but very rich and cloying, and not pleasant at all. Next to Bella stood Leo Sterling and another actor who played the second male lead. Leo gave me a slight smile. My palm began to heat up. I steadied myself and looked at the newly lit incense. It was burning when Bella, eager to show off, ran up and blew it out with one puff. The director's face changed with anger. Blowing on incense meant for respecting spirits was a major taboo. But the auspicious time had arrived and Bella was playing the third female lead, so he grit his teeth and replaced the incense. This time it lit, and all 3 sticks burned steadily. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. But when they finally lifted the red cloth from the camera to announce the start of filming, the assistant holding incense on the other side trembled and 1 stick fell, 2 long, 1 short. It was an omen of impending death. Something bad would happen within the month, and the fallen incense ash, which should have been auspiciously white, turned an eerie black because the feng shui assistant hastily tried to right the stick. A very bad omen. I couldn't help but frown. Bella knew I was here for filming. Her eyes nearly popped out of her head. After Leo greeted me and confirmed he was the one who recommended me, she stood stunned for a good while, then squeezed out a smile and came over to give me some enthusiastic advice. Hey, let me tell you, showbiz is tough. This circle is very dirty and messy. Someone like you who's so unworldly won't make it. If you really want to see what it's like, you can be my assistant. I can pay you a salary. It's more stable than your supporting role. See, supporting actors just eat boxed lunches. How miserable. A circle of extras nearby all turned to look at her. And behind this circle of extras, there was a woman of about 30 with a neat figure, heavy makeup, wearing a traditional long shirt costume. That sickly sweet aroma was coming from her. My gaze fixed on her. Who is that? Bella followed my gaze, somewhat disdainful. Her? That's Miss Diana. She's almost 50 and still playing the second female lead. See, being an actress is so hard. You still have to hustle for work at 50. I think you should really consider my offer. She had just finished speaking when Miss Diana turned to look at us. Bella immediately put on a beaming smile. Miss Diana, are you eating a boxed lunch too? That question was better left unasked. Miss Diana stood up, gave her an expressionless glance, and then left. So it was her. A thought struck me. Of the 5 karmic debts, the first is the debt of the flesh. The more beautiful the skin, the heavier the debt. This woman seemed to carry one of the 5 problems I needed to resolve. After I declined Bella's suggestion, I soon received her first gift. She found out that the actor playing the second male lead was injured and couldn't do his action scenes today. So, my scenes were moved up. The filming location was an old-style, small, Western-style house. The building had been abandoned for a long time. Although someone had cleaned it, no one lived there. Now, for filming, it was deliberately lit with eerie lighting. It was very quiet, but I only felt noise. Many, many voices. My gaze swept over the faint traces on the thin layer of dust on the floor. My fingers casually formed a simple gesture, touched the traces, and checked the direction of the energy flow. It was pure white. It seemed I had found what I was looking for without even trying. Miss Diana, who had been clutching her stomach, suddenly looked up at me. Bella was bent on currying favor with her. This Miss Diana had many resources and countless connections. If she could get her support, it would be a direct path to success. Early in the morning, I heard Bella ordering her assistant to get food, then going to chat up Miss Diana. But Miss Diana had been consistently cool towards her. My scene was supposed to be a simple action sequence. I sat quietly on the wooden railing, reading the script. The fight scene didn't seem difficult, but it was different from what Leo had described to me. The difficulty of the moves seemed to have been increased. Bella stood with her arms crossed, a half smile on her lips, her eyes mockingly sweeping over the martial arts instructor and the props manager on set. 1 minute before filming, the martial arts instructor quickly and briefly explained everything, as if afraid I would understand. After he finished, before I could speak, he turned to the assistant director and said, "She said no problem." Bella chuckled softly. The assistant director gave a half smile. "Ready?" I nodded. Bella muttered under her breath, "Let's see her make a fool of herself." She poked the other male lead and asked sourly, "What are you looking at? You clearly agreed just now, but now you can't bear it? You think she's good looking too? Don't be greedy, eyeing what's on someone else's plate when you have your own." "Not as good looking as you," he replied quickly. "I'm not like Leo. You know me, I hate boring women the most. Plus, all that rough sword and staff play, it's not feminine at all." He shook his head. He hadn't finished speaking when the assistant director shouted, "Action!" I did a roundhouse kick, twisted my waist for a side flip, and landed precisely on a 5-stake wooden dummy. 2 swift side aerials, then a soft, neat backbend. At that moment, a prop arrow shot from behind was caught in my hand. I slowly turned back, my robe whipping in the air. My palm tingled slightly. The long arrow in my hand was real. I threw it, and the arrow landed accurately 1 centimeter in front of Bella and the other actor. A snake was just darting out from there and was pinned by my arrow. The actor was dumbstruck, clearly shaken, and couldn't utter another word. Filming finished just in time for lunch. Bella looked at me with an ugly expression, then squeezed out an apologetic smile in front of everyone. Sorry, Alina, you don't have any scenes this afternoon anyway, so you can just go back. I didn't order lunch for you. You don't mind, right? As soon as she finished, the other actor immediately said with a grin, Hey, Alina, I can't eat this much. Let's eat together. I'll give you half. Just then, Miss Diana, who hadn't spoken, suddenly called out to me too. Miss Thorne, I have a large portion here. Let's eat together. She had just finished speaking when Leo, who had finished filming next door, came over holding a boxed lunch. Diana, let's eat together. The crew and staff still cleaning up, as well as the extras, all pricked up their ears. No one expected that the minor extra, who no one was paying attention to just moments ago, had suddenly become so popular. The three of them looked at each other and said in unison, Then let's all eat together. 1 table, 4 chairs, exactly 1 person too many. Bella looked at me resentfully, holding her lunch and standing to the side, looking pitiful. Seeing I hadn't sat down, she gently touched her forehead and gracefully sat down. I didn't eat breakfast today. I'm a bit hypoglycemic. By the way, Alina, it's so crowded here. Don't you extras have a designated place to eat? Honestly, with the strong, sickly aroma emanating from Miss Diana, I didn't have much of an appetite. I was about to leave. Seeing this, Leo immediately said, I'll go with you. The other actor also stood up. I want to go too. Miss Diana also stood up. Only Bella was left fuming, and she threw her lunch tray. After work, I had just walked out of the filming site when an assistant got out of a van in front. I glanced at her and got into the van with her. Indeed, Miss Diana was in the van. The entire back of the van was lined with a gold-threaded tapestry. It was early summer, yet she was still wearing 2 long-sleeved shirts. After I got in, she signaled the assistant to leave, and her tightly furrowed brow gradually relaxed. The car drove for half an hour and then stopped. She opened her eyes. You just get in a car without asking who it is? Your assistant has the same scent as you. Oh, what scent? Miss Diana had removed her makeup. Her face was sallow. A sickly, sweet, meaty aroma. Miss Diana's expression changed instantly. She and Leo were good friends. She noticed me because of the bracelet I gave him. From the opening ceremony to filming, she had been observing me. Seeing that I had seen through her, she no longer tried to hide it. Miss Thorne, as soon as you get close to me, it calms down. I sought you out to ask if you can help me. I looked at her stomach. Her abdomen, tightly bound by a waist cincher, was piled with layers of fat. Squeezed within this fat was a blurry mass of flesh. Her face was extremely weary. I've sought out many people, experts introduced within the circle, shamans from Thailand, but most were scammers and charlatans. Those who knew a little didn't dare to act rashly. You. Or perhaps you could ask your master to help. Money is not an issue. I can help you deliver what's in your stomach, but I have a condition. How much money do you want? Or opportunities? My next project is a movie, and the 3rd female lead hasn't been decided yet. She thought for a moment. I have a courtyard house in Beijing. It's very quiet. If you like it, I can give it to you. I finished my sentence. My request is simple. You must never use this method for nourishment again. And you must make a significant donation to a charitable foundation I designate. Using legitimate methods to generate income for a good cause doesn't count as ill-gotten gains. After I spoke, Miss Diana was still waiting. And then? Is that all? That's all. I reached into the small bag at my waist for my tools. Miss Diana was still looking at me in disbelief. I asked her one last time, if you remove it, you will also lose what it brought you. Have you thought it through? Miss Diana immediately said, Little friend, compared to the pain of having my flesh and organs gnawed alive day after day, a torment that even the largest dose of painkillers can't alleviate, I can lose anything right now, this pain. At first it was just a second, then it became a minute, and last month it started lasting almost half a day. If this continues, I'll definitely be gone too. If you've decided, then take off your clothes. She removed her 2 long-sleeved shirts. Only then did I realize that her stomach was layers upon layers of tightly packed, compressed skin. There wasn't even a shred of fat. Freed from the restraint of the talismanic belt, a small meatball-like thing inside her flattened stomach elongated and began to writhe. I located the pressure points, and the peach wood pin in my other hand quickly sliced open the dry belly skin. Inside was a long red worm covered in scales. Like a snake without eyes, or like a doll without hands, feet, or facial features. It truly was a physical manifestation of her unnatural bargain. A physical appearance obtained through such means. The more beautiful, the heavier the karmic debt, and the fiercer the resulting affliction. Fortunately, this thing hadn't fully matured yet, otherwise it would have been impossible to capture so easily. I turned to look at Miss Diana, who was limp and relaxed. Her features were aging rapidly. The elixirs made from countless unnatural extracts were nothing more than countless evil thoughts combined with the effects of a parasitic organism. Now these thoughts, borrowing the parasite, had gradually grown into a fetal form, longing for birth. Once it matured, one life ends, another begins. That would be the day of her death. The parasite, separated from its host, rapidly shrank, finally turning into a red thread wreathed in black energy. Where did you get this? Miss Diana looked weakly at the black energy. It was a spiritual master introduced through mutual contacts in the circle. It all started with an introduction from that socialite, Bella Thorne. No wonder Bella tried so hard to please her, yet Miss Diana remained indifferent. I put the item into a small gourd at my waist. The task was 1/5 complete, smoother than expected. Miss Diana was exhausted. She put on her hat, sunglasses, and scarf, and asked Leo to drive her back to the hotel first. The driver was actually him. Leo, I'll trouble you to take Miss Thorne back later. The partition opened and Leo smiled at me slightly. Leave it to me. Chatting idly on the way, Leo seemed to have a lot to say. Miss Diana just asked me to take her somewhere, said it was related to you. So that's the connection. Speaking of which, we seem to have quite some fate. Meeting on the red carpet, filming together, and now in the same car. Yes, you introduced me to all of it. I didn't have many scenes left, just 2 more. Enough for me to find a chance to figure out what was in that little Western-style house. When we reached the hotel where I was staying, Leo had already told me all the crew's important notes, people to watch out for, and even what he had for dinner last night. What a chatterbox. But his voice was quite nice. The next day, work started again at the little house. But there were far fewer people today. It was almost time to start filming, and Miss Diana hadn't arrived yet. With fewer people and it being close to evening, the building seemed even more sinister. Generally, when filming fantasy or supernatural shows, the crew will have a spiritual advisor inspect the location beforehand. But today's filming site still hadn't been cleared, and had no paper offerings burned. The snake blood from where I'd speared it yesterday hadn't been cleaned up. A foot-long purple earthworm was now sleeping on it. This was not a good sign. When the crew's advisor arrived, he didn't seem very reliable. He casually walked around once and then started collecting tips. Bella was already there. She looked at the snake blood, clutched her chest in fear, while her assistant and the script supervisor took photos of her from various angles. Generally, when filming supernatural movies, you're not supposed to take photos casually on set. But for a good angle, she even stepped on the cameraman's riser box, just to get a hard-working, innocent-looking shot. Her actions were all breaking taboos. I looked at the advisor taking tips on the side and was about to remind him to test the incense and invite the local spirits to be calm when Bella immediately came over, saying I was just a half-baked hack with a few tricks, telling me not to try and show off, but to do my own job first. Today, with Miss Diana and the second male lead absent, she was the biggest star here, so proactive. I looked at the 5 shadowy forms hanging on her back today. Strange. 2 of them were different. They were darker, more malevolent. She had probably arranged it beforehand, afraid of being discovered. I casually tossed out 3 leaves from my hand. Thankfully, my intuition showed danger, but no disaster. Just then, Bella walked past and stepped on the outermost leaf. My eyelid twitched. I heard the script supervisor outside call out, "Miss Diana is here!" Today's Miss Diana was remarkably different. Wearing a hat and a headscarf, she had her entire look done at the hotel before coming. But the moment she walked out of the makeup room, Everyone was stunned. Even today's director was speechless. Overnight, she had gone from looking like she was in her 30s to suddenly appearing 50. Expensive foundation and countless layers of makeup couldn't hide her fatigue and agedness. Overnight, she looked like a completely different person. The director raised his hand to pause, then pursed his lips. Diana, did you not sleep well last night? Do you want to rest first? Miss Diana, who had been tense, her face instantly fell upon hearing this. She immediately put on her sunglasses. Filming was thus interrupted. As soon as Miss Diana left, Bella immediately exclaimed dramatically, "What happened to Miss Diana? She seems to have changed suddenly. I'm really worried for her." Miss Diana, who had already reached the door, stopped and looked back at her. Miss Diana left. I was just looking for a reason to stay when Bella said her leg hurt. She couldn't stand for long and needed a stand-in. I readily agreed. This film set definitely had problems. The building was a 1990s imitation of a Western-style house, but the foundation underneath was original. Bella dawdled until evening, talking to the director about her understanding of Miss Diana's role, her words hinting that she could try it too, while her other hand tapped the back of the director's hand. The director said it would be hard to find a suitable replacement for Miss Diana's role right now. Bella looked left and right, then pointed at me. Her height is similar to mine. Didn't you also say she looks good? We could swap her in. In Bella's view, compared to the third female lead, becoming one of the dual female leads was definitely more attractive. After much dawdling, filming finally wrapped up. Once the set was cleared, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. Several actors were sneezing uncontrollably. Damn, why is it so cold today? I pretended to offer drinks and swatted away the small, shadowy things crawling on several people's shoulders. Once it passed 8 o'clock, these little presences emerged. Though small, they had fierce, cold eyes. They looked at me coldly, and if they jumped far away, they would even bare their teeth. Why were there so many of them here? The 5 shadows on Bella's shoulder didn't dare to make a sound, huddling together. She had gotten a new opportunity and looked particularly happy. Seeing me walking slowly behind, she said she had left something and wanted me to go back and get it. I gave you such a good opportunity. Aren't you going to repay me? You wouldn't refuse to do this little thing, would you? It was exactly what I wanted. I turned back to go in, hearing her mutter behind me. Opportunity? Dream on. I'll have you replaced tomorrow. She glanced at her assistant. The moment I went inside, the lights went out and the door closed behind me. The gourd at my waist began to move slightly, and almost simultaneously, a whirlwind started in the courtyard. The sound of the wind mixed with the laughter and crying of many small children. Someone was watching me in the darkness, and something was close by, repeatedly trying to blow in my ear. It was pitch black. You couldn't see your hand in front of your face. My robes fluttered silently. As they billowed, many firefly-like things suddenly lit up in midair. Looking closely, they were pairs of black, grape-like eyes, and the aura from the gourd on my body had clearly attracted them. I reached out, took off the gourd, shook it, and let more of the scent disperse. All the wind suddenly stopped, and in that instant, an icy chill came from my spine and the top of my head simultaneously. I spun around, stomping one foot on the ground. Suddenly, there was a piercing cry. A child's head was pulled out from below. Just for a second, this head suddenly fell off, and the hair I was holding suddenly wrapped around my hand like a snake. And at the same time, my other hand was also entangled by an icy chill. The surrounding darkness instantly turned a bizarre red. An indescribable stench hit me, almost making me faint. You're courting death. Forming a clearing gesture and chanting a calming mantra, I spat out a mouthful of blessed water I had hidden under my tongue. The head began to sizzle and smoke, turning into something like a rotten leather ball, bouncing and tumbling, then quickly dispersed. And as the skull fell, finger bones, leg bones, and other bones emerged from the ground. Countless voices whimpered like small children comforting each other. Just as I drew the flexible, coin-bladed sword from my waist and walked over, 2 figures suddenly blocked my path. Looking closely, they were 2 of the shadowy figures previously on Bella. One of them was the one that helped her pull the red string. "Sister, spare us." The two spirits knelt before me, shielding the jumbled little things behind them. Who are you? At my question, the spirits dared not hide anything anymore. It turned out this place was originally a private hospital that specialized in abortions in the 80s and 90s. Back then, medical waste management wasn't as strict as it is now. The logistics staff, through corruption, simply buried all the undeveloped fetuses behind this old house under the hospital. Later, the hospital was abandoned. The place was bought, and it lay desolate for a long time. Gradually, they gained consciousness. What they wanted was a chance to be born. Then what about you two? The two spirits looked at each other. One said that 6 months ago, the original owner of their contract suddenly returned and dug up some of the things underneath before leaving. They too, in a daze, found they could suddenly go out. The person who saved them was called Mr. Silver. Mr. Silver selected many obedient ones from among them and distributed them to different pretty young ladies, telling them these ladies were their mothers and they should help their mothers well, and Bella had spent a lot of money to buy 5 of them. Some of the undeveloped body parts, along with fragmented, lonely souls, were made into pills, said to help them rest and recuperate. They originally thought everyone had gone their separate ways, but unexpectedly they had a chance to return here. So the two of them quickly found their remaining little friends to play. The two of them were able to stay today because 2 other little friends said they really wanted to go out, so they secretly swapped. One of the spirits even explained for its companions who had run off, they are all very good. They just failed several attempts at reincarnation, so sometimes they get angry. Very good? Little spirits that even evil sex wouldn't take in? Could they be easy to deal with? Bella's body was already extremely weak, and she kept coming to this place with extremely heavy negative energy. Now, with 2 more malicious spirits on her shoulder, I was breaking out in a cold sweat for her. In the instant I was distracted, I heard a cry from below. The little spirit that had been pieced together from behind in order to restore itself had actually bitten the 2 spirits in front of me. Sharp, ghostly teeth chewed and chewed. Now that we've eaten the thing on your body, we can be free. A flash of my sword and the front became completely silent. I picked up the gourd. The things inside dared not move anymore. You wanted to meet? I'll give you a chance. From that pile of fragmented, old and tender bones, I picked up a black pearl. On it was the concentrated resentment of these little spirits. The moment I finished cleaning up, the sinister coldness in the air above the entire courtyard vanished. If these spirits hidden underground hadn't come out voluntarily, they would have been very difficult to find. Moonlight shone on the ground, bright and clear. Just then, I heard banging on the gate outside. Someone was shouting my name loudly. After 2 shouts, it turned directly into kicking the door. The door opened. Leo Sterling, followed by 2 panting assistants, stood there. He was still in his costume, covered in sweat. Ignoring everything else, he ran straight over, pulling me left and right to check on me. I heard you were locked on set, so I came to check immediately. Are you okay? I'm fine. Leo didn't look too good. I heard this place isn't clean. His nervous and uneasy look made me laugh. Then why did you still come? Aren't you afraid? With you here, what am I afraid of? He watched me pack my things, took the bracelet from his wrist, and gave it to me. You gave this to me. After I put it on, I felt much better. I know this is very valuable, made of lightning-struck wood. Why don't I give it back to you first? It's safer for you to wear it. It's not that special. I have plenty of these just lying around at the retreat. As he spoke, he very naturally grabbed my wrist. That familiar scorching feeling in my palm came again. I looked at his hand. He looked at mine. What's this red thread on your hand? It looks a bit strange. He could actually see it. This was the red thread taken from Bella's spirit. It was also the sinew of an attraction charm. He let go of my hand to try and grab it, but then he couldn't see it anymore. Then, the moment he grabbed my hand again, he saw it. Let go. Couldn't see it again. After a moment, I finally couldn't help it. Is this fun? Outside the film set, Leo insisted that, according to custom, we should first go to a crowded place before heading home. But now, what shouldn't have been encountered had been encountered. I was still hesitating when Leo reached out and grabbed my wrist. Let's go. It won't make you fat. That's not the reason, okay? I hadn't even said anything, but I felt that tingling sensation from the skin contact climbing up my spine. Strange yet familiar. I thought for a moment, then took his hand. Sure enough, his palm was scorching hot. Then I slid my fingers between his, and the sensation intensified. Strange. I looked for a while longer, then let go of his hand and walked a few steps. Leo, who had been standing still, then ran up. After he changed his clothes and put on a simple disguise, we set off for the snack street in the film city. He really talked a lot. While eating, he talked about interesting things that happened during filming and his own embarrassing moments. After finishing one story, he would stare at me, waiting for my reaction. As he was talking, he suddenly asked, "Do you believe in past and future lives?" I raised an eyebrow. Wisdom is not lightly transmitted, and spiritual guidance is not cheaply sold. If it's for divination or fortune telling, that's a different price. I used to always have a dream where I was holding onto someone falling off a cliff, he said suddenly. His expression turned somewhat pained. Although I used all my strength, a blade slashed at me from behind, blood splattering on our hands. It was too hot, too slippery. She slipped from my grasp. My heart gave a dull throb. Sitting in a corner amongst the crowd, it was both lively and quiet, bustling yet peaceful. When I returned to the hotel unexpectedly, Bella's assistant was waiting for me. She probably knew about what happened on set and came to ask for my help in clarifying things. It turned out that the moment I was locked on set, a paparazzi reporter discovered it, so it spread online. Now, the internet was abuzz with rumors of Bella bullying a new actor. Then, previous videos were dug up, revealing that I was actually her recently found older sister. This made things even more heated. She was furious and had smashed several more vases. This was likely due to her luck being affected. After all, without the protection of two of her benevolent spirits, the things borrowed from the future couldn't be retained. Now, with 3 benevolent ones and 2 malevolent ones on her, they were evenly matched, and neither could do anything to the other. Bella was safe for now, but she could no longer boost her luck. The assistant came to me this time wanting me to make a clarification. She offered $20,000 for me to record a video saying it was just a joke, to let the matter pass. I don't even have a social media account. She immediately said she could help me set one up, saying this was very detrimental to Bella's career as she was just starting out. I smiled. Since you can do it all, why bother asking me? When she was harming others, she didn't seem to think about her own career. We're all adults. We should be responsible for our own actions. Although Bella fought hard for it, just as my intuition predicted, she still didn't get Miss Diana's role. She was furious. One day, she came to the set very early and made a demand to the director. Because I refused to help clarify the slander against her, her emotions were now very unstable, and she couldn't get into character for filming. Either I had to post a video apologizing to her, or my scenes had to be cut and I replaced. The director didn't agree. The next day, she didn't show up at all. When asked, the excuse was that she was sick and couldn't get out of bed, feeling unwell. Everyone knew she was trying to force the production team to make a choice. She had single-handedly turned her problem with me into her problem with the entire production. Finally, the production manager went to see her personally. He came back looking terrible, saying Bella just had a cold. "The AC in her room is blasting. How could she not catch a cold?" the production manager complained. He still had residual negative energy on him. My heart tightened slightly. This aura wasn't right. Bella had definitely used forbidden methods. By recklessly increasing the offerings, she probably thought this was an excellent opportunity to defeat me. Little spirits are like spoiled children. They can't be constantly indulged or they'll become uncontrollable and easily led to backlash. Bella's mind was starting to get muddled. This time, the director called her personally. Bella whined that she really wasn't feeling well. A bad mood led to low spirits. And now her head hurt. "Very well." The director hung up and looked at me. "You've been her stand-in for so many days. Can you film her scenes?" Seeing my hesitation, he added, "It's okay if you can't remember the lines. Just say numbers like she does. As long as you maintain a beautiful appearance. This character is supposed to be quiet and aloof anyway. Just be yourself." What a joke. There was nothing I couldn't memorize. A week later, I had successfully completed almost all the dialogue scenes. Bella, who had been kept waiting, arrived at the set dressed to the nines. She had new work done on her chin and eyes, looking seemingly more refined. When she confidently walked over, what awaited her was a contract termination letter. That day happened to be my last scene. Dressed in a gorgeous, sparkling costume with full makeup, I slowly walked past her. Bella's arguing voice suddenly disappeared. She still had 5 spirits on her back, but the 3 benevolent ones were skinny, while the 2 malevolent ones were noticeably more robust. I paused for a second. Bella glared at me fiercely. The mood of the one making offerings directly affects the mood of the spirits. The 2 dark spirits behind her glared at me fiercely. The moment I passed them, one of the dark spirits actually lunged at me recklessly. I subconsciously waved my hand, formed a defensive gesture, and grabbed it. But I didn't expect there to be another one at my feet. The moment I was about to fall into the water, I directly grabbed Bella's hand. Both of us fell in. I can't swim, but luckily the water wasn't deep. Bella's meticulously styled outfit was a mess. She glared at me, and I looked back at her. "I feel a bit regretful," I said. "You shouldn't have gotten work done on your chin. The chin represents one's fortune with subordinates and in old age. It shouldn't be sharp and pointed." "You're just jealous, aren't you? Jealous that I'm prettier than you now, that I have more resources than you," she snorted. "I'll rise again. If I can make it as an influencer once, I can do it a second time." "If I were you, I wouldn't keep these things around," I said, looking at the other dark spirit behind her, dodging and desperately clinging to her. Bella's fingers slowly tightened. All 10 of her fingertips were pricked and bleeding. This was a sign of feeding them with blood. "These aren't things. They are my children." Before climbing out, she sneered. "How long do you think you can act so arrogantly? When Mr. Silver comes, you'll be in for it," she cackled. "And all of you will be in for it too." I climbed out of the pool. Luckily, the water wasn't deep. I never learned to swim. Bella, who had already walked away, suddenly turned back to glance at me. Even Leo had heard of this Mr. Silver. When Leo and I were eating together, he mentioned this mysterious figure in the industry. It's said that Mr. Silver is quite good-looking, a bit androgynous. Heard he was originally an ordinary disciple at a retreat. Inspired by his studies, he went to Tibet to purify his soul. On the way, he encountered a white camel and suddenly gained insight into life and death, calling himself Mr. Silver. It sounded incredibly unreliable. But this narrative was very popular. Compared to the often scruffy spiritual advisors on film sets, such a story had its own allure. Through word of mouth, he managed to secure a lot of business. Later, when he got too busy, he even went to Thailand for advanced studies. Hearing this, I roughly understood where these unorthodox methods and messy attraction charms came from. This kind of scoundrel, if not dealt with, would damage the reputation of true spiritual practice and harm people's lives. I looked at Leo's now clean back without a single red string, and it felt incredibly pleasing to the eye. Unfortunately, I only had 2 divination chances a day. Any more would be inaccurate. Otherwise, I would definitely try to divine when his next red string would appear. I really want to meet this legendary Mr. Silver. I had just finished speaking when Leo fed a piece of pastry into my mouth. What's so great about meeting someone like that? His actions are sinister. He can't be a good person. Unexpectedly, before I met Mr. Silver, I encountered another fine face first. At the wrap party, Miss Diana's assistant suddenly found me. She called me to a corner of the side hall and told me some news. "Miss Diana asked me to remind you, Bella Thorne has been getting very close to your crew's assistant director recently. I just heard they went backstage, and your name was mentioned before they went in. Be careful." She had just finished speaking when the assistant director from over there also came over. The assistant immediately lowered her head and left. His glabella was very dark as if it had been dipped in ink. The spiritual flames on his head and shoulders were about to go out. He was grinning, completely oblivious, his face showing the sated smile of someone who just had their fill, and he eyed me with ill intent. "Congratulations, getting such a good roll on your first try." I touched my glass to his and pulled back. My fingers brushed against that darkness. and I actually pulled out a strand of black, silk-like energy from him. It vanished into my palm in an instant. The assistant director tilted his chin up. So, are you looking for a one-time deal, or do you want to continue? This was a huge temptation for anyone wanting to enter the industry. On his lapel, a camera blinked faintly. Was this a live broadcast? The assistant director lowered his voice, a smile in his tone. If you really want to, come to my room tonight. We can discuss it thoroughly. He leaned closer, the flames on his shoulders flickering. His mouth actually had a decaying smell. It was the smell of the earth and rot. I immediately took a step back. What did you eat? That smell is so strong. He was baffled. I didn't eat anything. I just kissed. One of the flames on his shoulder suddenly went out. Then his shoulder suddenly slumped a bit, and just then, I saw what looked like a black hand on his shoulder. Then the assistant director collapsed directly. He fell and rolled forward, landing headfirst, his head covered in blood. A nearby server immediately picked up a walkie-talkie, calling for a medic. I quickly knelt and pressed on the vital points on his head to prevent his spirit from scattering. A chilling negative energy had almost sealed his spiritual openings. And at that moment, a sarcastic voice sounded behind me. I hear you have some skills. Dare to make a bet with me? I bet you can't save him. Hearing this voice, I couldn't help but raise an eyebrow. My hands didn't stop. Gathering the soul, steadying the heart, expelling the evil. The person behind me saw this and snorted. He just copulated with a yin body. Evil energy has already invaded him inside and out. Even if you have some skills, I'm afraid it's too late. My reputation as White Camel, earned traveling far and wide, is not for nothing. Unless my old sex junior aunt steps in, otherwise, As he spoke, he threw out his I Ching coins, performing a divination. The outcome was ominous. The gate of death. In one more minute, he'll die at your hands, and before he dies, he'll conveniently blurt out your illicit affair. I'll have a puppet spirit possess him. I've raised this spirit for many years. To hurt it, you'd have to hurt me. Today, I'll show you what true spiritual skill is. Seriously, so talkative. But this talkativeness is really damn annoying. I grabbed the neck of the little puppet spirit that was about to take advantage of the situation, yanked it up like a dog, and flung it in Mr. Silver's face. Blackie, why are you still so noisy? Mr. Silver, who had just been looking down his nose with arrogance, suddenly looked as if he had an egg stuffed in his mouth. He gaped in shock. You, I frowned. You what? Kicked out for a few years and you've forgotten how to address your elders? Mr. Silver swallowed hard. Junior, Aunt, you. Why are you here? I stood up and he immediately retreated 3 steps. Hand it over, I looked at him. With immense heartache and helplessness, he crushed the puppet spirit in his hand, revealing a small piece of a ceremonial emblem inside. He handed it to me, trembling. Junior Aunt, please listen to me. Speak. Let me hear what good deeds you've been up to these past few years after running off with the retreat's donations. I took back the golden emblem piece. If he hadn't stolen the base of the emblem, would I have casually thrown a dart and damaged it? Bella, who had been hiding in the back watching the show, saw this and came out clutching her phone. Her face was pained. Of the 4 spirits originally on her back, only the robust dark spirit remained. The other 3 benevolent spirits were gone. That thick, indescribable stench was coming from her. Forcing spirits to devour each other, an evil spirit becomes a greater evil. Mr. Silver, what are you doing? Hurry up and make your move. The flesh on Mr. Silver's face twitched. Make what move? This is my junior aunt? Bella shrieked. I gave you so much money. Even if it was your own father, you'd have to do it. Mr. Silver frowned. Shut up. The luck and romance I gave you were more than enough to cover it. Don't you think about how someone with your meager destiny could have so much good luck and opportunity? If I hadn't helped you change your fate and borrow luck, you wouldn't even be an influencer now. How dare you order me around? Bella's eyes were bloodshot. It was clear she had been supplying them with countless offerings and had been corrupted. Her eyes widened. She suddenly bit her wrist and bright red blood spurted out. She splattered it on her face and body, clamoring, Eat! Eat as much as you want. I gave you the little white ones too. Now you can only listen to me. I want you to— Her words stopped abruptly. There was no need for me to even act. Mr. Silver immediately stepped forward and slapped Bella across the face. A flurry of fierce actions, and Bella collapsed unconscious on the ground. "She's possessed," Mr. Silver announced to the onlookers. Those two were doing unspeakable things in a negative place and attracted an evil spirit, but I've already dealt with it. Mr. Silver came over, a fawning smile on his face. "Junior Aunt are my master and grandmaster in good health." "So concerned? Why not go back and see for yourself?" Mr. Silver nodded repeatedly. "Yes, yes." Then he came to his senses. "No, no. Are all these things you're doing?" Mr. Silver looked pained. "Yes and no. Junior Aunt, firstly, it was to make a living, and secondly, it was all for spreading the Tao. Some were bought, some were imported from Thailand. You can't sell them anymore." "Huh? Unwilling?" I reached out, grabbed the dark spirit from Bella, kneaded it, and flattened it, turning it from a watermelon size to a pill size. The dark spirit's sharp teeth extended. I pulled them out one by one, crushed them into powder, and sprinkled it on top. Mr. Silver immediately paled. "Willing, willing. I'll listen to whatever Junior Aunt says." Bella, still struggling on the side, wouldn't give up. "Mr. Silver, I can give you lots and lots of money. How much do you want?" "As long as you—" Mr. Silver frowned and signaled an assistant to cover her mouth. Now 4 of the 5 debts were settled. Only the last one remained. After this turmoil, the wrap party ended abruptly. I left early. I saw Mr. Silver glance at me secretly, then sneak another look. I frowned. "So sneaky. What are you looking at?" "I didn't expect Junior Aunt to look like this when she grew up," he smiled. "If Junior Aunt wants to enter the entertainment circle, I can make introductions." "Are you looking to die?" Mr. Silver clutched his head and ran off, trembling. At the bottom of the stairs, he bowed to me. "Goodbye, Junior Aunt." He took a step, then walked back, standing at the foot of the stairs. "Junior Aunt, there's one more thing I think I should tell you." "Speak." "That day, I heard Grandmaster and Master talking about you. Grandmaster said that in your destiny, you have 50 years without a connection to the spiritual path. A doctor cannot heal themselves. A diviner cannot divine their own destiny. So, Master wanted me to come down the mountain, not because I damaged his precious emblem, but because of this." I thought about all his instructions before I left the mountain, and all the times he had gradually introduced me to the secular world in the preceding years. I should have realized it sooner. How could Master, already well past 70, be someone who would toil for worldly possessions? Thinking of the backpack he prepared for me, and the cash inside, I smiled, but my eyes couldn't help but turn red again. No wonder he avoided seeing me when I left that time. A teacher for a day is a father for life. I took out my phone and called Master. The phone rang for a long time before it was finally picked up. "What is it? Why are you calling at this hour?" "I was just about to finish my practice and now you've interrupted me." The voice on the other end grumbled and complained. "Master, I miss you." The other end of the line went silent. After a moment, there was the sound of someone clearing their throat. "Master understands." Next came an endless stream of nagging, but this time, hearing it, I felt no annoyance, only warmth. I still have one divination chance left today. I stood on the steps until a passing car honked, and I finally came back to my senses. A car was parked in front of the steps. I didn't know how long it had been there. Seeing me look over, the car window slowly rolled down. Leo's smiling face appeared. I got in the car and fastened my seatbelt with one hand. Then, I looked at him. "Why didn't you say anything when you arrived?" "Seeing you standing on the high steps in a long dress, you had an ethereal beauty. I didn't want to interrupt." I smiled. Leo mentioned that Bella was trending online. His little assistant, Joey, added to it. Just now at the wrap party, her embarrassing behavior was all recorded, and now the internet is in an uproar. The paid trolls and burner accounts she bought before were all exposed, as well as the matter of buying attraction charms. It's causing a huge stir. What is gained through external means will inevitably be lost to external means. Bella's good luck had probably run out. Everyone used to think she was an energetic and cute rich girl, but Now it's been dug up that her mom was the other woman who married her dad. Alina was born less than 10 months before Bella. Mr. Thorne definitely cheated while his wife was pregnant, and it's said that less than a year after her sister went missing, her mom moved into the house. Rumor has it she originally used pregnancy to force the marriage, but everyone says she doesn't look like her sister Alina at all. More like, Leo said, trailing off. Like their family driver, Marcus, Joey finished. For every sentence the little assistant said, Leo would elaborate. It was quite lively with all the chatter. I smiled. Joey, is your boss always this talkative? The little assistant glanced at Leo, wrinkled his nose, and said with a smile, Not at all. My boss usually doesn't talk much. He's super cool. Leo coughed, but his hand very naturally grabbed mine. You're the talkative one. This time, it wasn't just my palm that was hot, my face was too. I quickly changed the subject. I still have my 2 divinations for today. I'll do one for each of you. The first was for Leo. The stars of romance are aligning. The second was for the assistant, Joey. But it's a tribulation. Combined, it's a love tribulation. This disaster is imminent. The time is... My eyes widened. Now! As soon as my voice fell, there was a loud bang. A car slammed into us violently. Then it started up again. I saw clearly the driver, covered in blood, was Marcus. He stared at us with his wide, obsessive eyes. Blood dripped from his face. His breathing was ragged. Then he ignited the engine again. But this time, the car was wrecked. He opened the car door and stumbled towards us. The little assistant had fainted. Leo had also lost consciousness. My chest ached terribly, but I could still move. The car was leaning against the bridge railing with the river right beside it. He was panting heavily. Passing drivers who had stopped were also preparing to come over. Marcus used all his strength to start pushing the car. I struggled to open my car door. He immediately abandoned the car and came after me. Bella said if I help her fulfill this wish, she'll call me Dad. His face was covered in black energy, his smile cold and painful. All these years, I watched her grow up. She's so filial to me. She introduced me to so many good girls, set me up, let me take pictures. She's finally going to acknowledge me. When the old man dies soon, I'll be the rightful master of the Thorne family. As for you, you bastard, I'm going to kill you today. So talkative, villains always die from talking too much. I took a step back. Behind me was the railing full of gaps. If you kill me, you won't live either. This is an accident. Bella said you can't swim. Last time you fell into a small pond, you almost drowned. Indeed, I couldn't swim. But after the last accident, Leo had pestered me relentlessly to learn how to swim. I suddenly felt a bit of regret. Just then, I noticed someone behind the driver, filming continuously. Looking closely, it was the junior reporter from the red carpet. Her phone was still live streaming, and the camera in her hand had become a weapon. The moment Marcus reached for me with a thud, the camera smashed down on him. Then again, Marcus completely lost his ability to fight. As he lost consciousness, the black energy around him began to swirl. I used my blood as a conduit and quickly captured this remnant soul, an evil karmic spirit on the verge of full formation but not quite there. This was the last of the 5 karmic debts, the child debt and offspring spirit. After this incident, ambulances and traffic police quickly arrived at the scene. I looked at the junior reporter. Her eyes were shining as she looked at me, like she was seeing her idol. "Thank you," I said, then quickly went to Leo in the front seat. The junior reporter called after me from behind. "Sister Alina, I'll keep your secret." Bella, who had been following behind, was caught on the spot. No matter how much she played dirty or threw tantrums, she couldn't escape the law. I didn't go back to the Thorne family home again. The ID and household registration I got last time at the Thorne house were actually for moving out, establishing my own independent household. As for acting, although it was interesting, it also depended on fate. Right now, what I wanted to do most was go back and give Master a gift. Leo came to the station to see me off to the retreat. Both his hands were full of things, and the little assistant behind him carried even more. I was a bit dumbfounded. I probably, maybe, perhaps can't eat this much. He flicked my forehead. So none of us get to eat? My eyes instantly widened. Us? Us. We're going together, he said. But your acting and your commercials? Leo smiled. I've cleared my schedule for 3 months. That day on the bridge, the first thing I thought when I opened my eyes was, if you fell and you can't swim, I won't let that happen a second time. But, I actually stuttered. Are you afraid you won't learn? I'm a very good teacher. His eyes burned brightly. The little assistant muttered very softly, Is it really just about teaching swimming? My face grew scorching hot. Returning to the retreat, I unexpectedly saw Master standing in front of the mountain gate, majestic and silent, with an immortal aura. My nose tingled. I ran over and threw myself into his arms. Master coughed and whispered a reminder. New clothes, what are you doing? What are you doing? I sniffled. Master, as if facing a great enemy, pushed me away. Go wipe it on your young man. I bit my lip and wiped all my tears on Master's clothes. I won't.